We talked about the collateral registries. All those are initiatives that will propel further job creation and opportunities for people to either work for themselves or expand the scope that companies have for employing people. So that's a commitment that you will still continue to see from the bankers committee and the banks across the board. It's an opportunity for small businesses to put themselves in a better position to be able to access funding from banks. And even for the banks, for us banks ourselves, it's also making it easier to facilitate the process of lending to customers. So even as we're coming out of recession, there are processes in place to facilitate the lending to small businesses in particular, which in turn contributes and is contributing and will contribute to employment as we go forward. So there are a number of things that we're seeing that will, if you will, allow us to accelerate the process of coming out of recession. Now, whilst that is the case, one of the things we also felt it's important to share with the public, especially as we're going towards the latter part of the year, where there tends to be a rising incident of frauds, is be careful, right? If something seems too good to be true, more often than not, it is too good to be true. We've had incidents of Wonder Banks in the past. I don't know that it has started again, but it's important to raise that awareness, and you hear more and more of it as we go through the last quarter of the year, because it is towards the end of the year that you find that there's more intensity in attempting to defraud people. So this is an opportunity just to remind people and increase their awareness. So you'll be hearing more communication as the rest of the year comes by.
We mentioned before that the framework for this was being developed. At the Bankers Committee, we can confirm that this is being finalized and disbursement should start by the end of this quarter, 2017. To further support this, the CBN has created a special export intervention scheme to support exports, and of course that will generate additional foreign exchange. This is going to be closely monitored, and we expect that a lot of our SMEs will benefit from this scheme. The issue we've had in the past is the failure of some exporters to repatriate the FX generated, and the CBN has agreed with the Bankers Committee to sanction defaulting exporters.
This one is a CBN initiative. It's Central Bank of Nigeria's initiative to boost exports, and so exporters can access the funds. That's like the Commercial Agricultural Scheme or the Uncle Borrowers Program. So it's a special fund within CBN that exporters can be able to access in order to boost their businesses. So it's different. On the blacklisting of exporters, there's a provision in the Foreign Exchange Manual, in fact, a circular for the Central Bank, that requires all exporters to repatriate the proceeds of their exports. The fact is that a number of exporters don't. And so the Bankers Committee deliberated on that matter and felt that there's a need to sanction appropriately those exporters. And part of the sanction could be the blacklisting of an exporter so that he may not even have access to other banking services. It's being considered. That's part of the consideration by the Bankers Committee today.
Over the past few months, in terms of the improvement in stability and increased liquidity in the foreign exchange system, which has just raised the level of confidence, quite frankly, from all the stakeholders, which is what is needed to continue to create that stability and bring more supply into the market to meet the foreign exchange needs. I mean, the central bank has been steadfast in its approach, and I think we're seeing the vindication of that, perseverance and a number of the policies associated to enable us, improve our confidence, as I said, in the foreign exchange markets. As we've seen today, there's a lot more harmony, a lot more harmonization between the various rates that might have existed in the past. So again, this is really something that is commendable, and notwithstanding the successes, the central bank continues to look for ways to further improve and further engender confidence in the foreign exchange market.
Those are some members of the Bankers Committee from the central bank and bank CEOs at the briefing yesterday about what's going to look like the final Bankers Committee meeting for 2017, unless anything has happened between now and December. So let's get back to the big story that is trending right now, the appointments by President Buhari into the affairs of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Mrs. Aisha Hamad is now a deputy governor, according to yesterday's announcement. She has about more than 20 years banking, executive and investment advisory experience, both in Nigeria and overseas. She will be replacing the retired Dr. Mrs. Sarah Alade on the board of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and we expect to see her at the next Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the Central Bank in the third week of November. Meantime, the president also appointed 4 independent members into the MPC body. These 4 individuals will be, some of them will be replacing a few members of the MPC that are retiring. Members such as Dr. Doyin Salami will be retiring as an independent member of the Monetary Policy Committee between now and the end of the year. The 4 new members will formally be joining the team in January 2018. Let's come back after the break, and we're looking at the Global Investors Week, not just here, but around the world.